Marit, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Cool. So can we start?
Yes, sure.
I'll just do a short introduction. This is Marit Posch. She is a general manager at Germany at Idol, right?
Yes.
And also works for Hype Machine.
No, Hyperculture.
Hyperculture, sorry. Hyperculture. And in 2009, you started a label with Mode Selector, their label Monkey Town. And you also are helping bands nowadays, I think this is with Idol, make deals with distribution companies and Spotify and so on.
Well, Idol is a distribution company. So okay. Idol is a digital distribution Idol, company. Yes.
You help them make deals with streaming platforms, yes. And you're going to be talking about how to start a DIY label and how to build up a press for before release, and how to build something when you want to release music DIY.
Exactly. I wanted to give, because I don't know, I assume everyone is an artist in the audience.
Yeah.
Or working with artists. So yeah, I just wanted to give like a quick overview of what's important to consider or to watch out for when you're an artist and you want to release music professionally. So it applies to running a label as well. I mean, there are some things on top of it, administrative things, but the general approach is actually the same, like what you have to keep in mind and what work there is to do. So I thought as I said, I will give a quick overview and I'll share my screen because I made some notes so that it's easier for you to follow. And if you have any questions in between, please feel free to just interrupt and ask. And then afterwards, we'll have plenty of time for your questions. So you can really just ask anything, even specific about your music or, and I'll see if I can help you with my answers. So I'll start my screen share. So yeah, I called it the A to Z of releasing music, just to, how to make your music heard. There are some main things you have to at least know when you release music, just what kind of partners are there and what institutions there might be involved. So potential partners are, of course, a label, a booking agency, PR agency, publisher, collaborators like other artists you work with, or sync companies you work with. You should always not forget about the legal things like contracts. Either if you run a label, do contracts with your artists, or if you're an artist yourself, then please make sure to always have a contract for any work you do, because I mean, in 99% of the cases, all goes well, but there's always this 1%, and then it's just good to have a contract and also to just know and talk about what are the terms of your partnership, no matter if it's with a label or book an agency or a publisher. Taxes, I mean, I guess you guys all know about it. I just added it because I recently had a case with an artist who didn't put money aside and then had to pay a lot of taxes at the end of the year, and this was not fun. So that's why I just wanted to mention it, to really make sure to have a proper admin setup, which is the next point. You should have a good infrastructure for your administrative things. There are collecting societies you can register your tracks with, and you should definitely do that, because that can be some significant money. Even if it's just a couple of €100, it's still money that you earned, and so you should collect it. Communication channels, social media profiles. So this is really important as an artist to really have profiles everywhere and also take care of them. So I'll come back to that later on a bit. Backups, another thing which I had bad experiences with some artists who were close to a release and had to deliver the master files, and then classical case, the backpack got stolen and the computer was in there and there was no backup. So please make sure that you always have a backup somewhere stored, ideally not even at your home. Organized folder system, I mean, this is just to make sure to find everything you need in a short time. So this admin things, I know it's really annoying, but I think this really helps you focus on your creative work, because it can get a lot, and this just makes sure that you don't spend too much time on things you don't want to spend on. So yeah, communication is really important, and that can be really time consuming as well. You know, going back and forth on emails or phone calls with your partners, this always needs time. And then accounting. So depending on your setup as an artist, maybe get a tax consultant, or just make sure that you have everything in place. Hold on, I gotta scroll down. So then, you know, depending on if you work with a label, then you should know about the setup, but you don't have to deal with it yourself. If you have a label, you probably know. And also, especially for digital distribution nowadays, it's really easy to release your music yourself as an artist without any label. So physical, you know, if you're a DIY artist and want to do everything on your own, then Bandcamp actually is the best place to put out your vinyls and your merch and whatever physical formats you have. It's easy to do, and then digitally you can just sign to an not even sign. You can just upload your releases, pay a flat fee, one fee for release, and then it gets distributed. So you can, yeah, it's really easy to release music on their own. You just gotta be aware that with services where you just pay a flat fee by release, that usually they don't have a lot of marketing in place and will pretty much only deliver your release without any further marketing activities. So they won't even pitch your songs, which for Spotify you can do on your own via Spotify for Artists. On all the other platforms you can't. So for this, you really need a distributor to even get the chance to get into playlists. Yeah, and if you do work with a distributor, you should, and even through a label, you should definitely check, you know, what's for physical, what's their network of sub-distributors worldwide, because usually you have the main distributor, but for the other key territories, they usually work with partners. So you should check, you know, if they're established and what stores they work with, because it also the terms and the return policy, because it can be a lot of money taken off your revenues for some hidden fees or return policies or something like that. And digitally, as I said, like marketing, what do they do? Which stores do they submit your music? Because some stores only, some distributors only deliver to the big platforms, but maybe, you know, your music is really suitable for the Asian market or the African market. And then there are definitely platforms, and you should check if those are on the list of the distributor. Then, so just an overview, where does the money come from for you as an artist? So via distribution, you should usually, when you work with a label, it's every half a year you get a report and you get the royalties paid out. Then neighboring rights, this is for like radio plays, live shows, and this goes via collecting societies. So you can register with them and then you get the revenues, I think yearly or half yearly, depending on the society. But you can also work with agencies like Pro Agency or Rights Up, you don't have to pay anything up front, they just take a share. And they have a pretty good setup worldwide. So if you do have significant airplay and shows, it might be worth signing with one of those services, just because they can definitely collect more than you can as an individual person, just because of their setup. Then of course, webshop, Bandcamp, merch can be a pretty good income source. Sync deals, that's what everyone dreams about, which can be really nice, but it's really hard to get. So, if you know people in the advertising world or the movie world, network with them, send them your music, maybe work with sync agencies, send them your music. And because sometimes it can be a coincidence and you'll get a deal and it can be really good money. And also has a great PR factor. So, if you get a placement in a movie or a TV show, then you will definitely find more fans who listen to your music. So I just listed some tools that might help you with the admin nightmare. Wave is for accounting. It's a really, really good tool. I used to use it as well. It's really easy to issue invoices and also upload receipts. So you have everything in place and you have a really good overview about your income and your payments. And it's free. So you just have to, and it's an app, so you can download it on your phone even. Then chat apps, Slack, Discord. It's always good to stay in touch with labels or publishers, depending on what they use. If you have bigger projects, then I always recommend to use project management tools, especially if you collaborate with other artists or if there are partners involved. There are a ton I just listed too, because you can assign tasks and you can have timelines, and it's really good for staying on point. And of course, don't be messy with your files, with your music. So really try to have a proper setup for that. So I think the most important thing, and it gets even more and more important, the more music is being released and the more platforms there are online, you really have to think about who you want to be as an artist and what's kind of your brand. I know it sounds terrible, selling yourself as a brand, but it's a business and it's tough, and there's so much competition out there. So you gotta make sure that there's something people remember about you and that's consistent throughout your career. That doesn't mean that you can't have diverse genres or change hairstyles, whatever, but just find something that's really unique about yourself, and like a trademark in a way, and try to follow through with it. So yeah, find your niche. I'm always surprised how many artists can still make a living with music that's really niche, where you don't even know, that there are people listening to it. Like, you wouldn't expect so many people following it.
Sorry to interrupt you, but what does CI mean, please?
That's corporate identity. So it's like a very, it's a business term, but, I just wanted to, focus on that. You really, you should try to separate you as a person and you as an artist, and you as an artist, you are a brand. So you have to have an identity. And I know it can be hard, and it's not always like, it doesn't have to be totally separated, but the more famous you get, I think the better it is to really have a split between those two personas, just to stay sane in a way. And also, especially because you have to be so active on socials, not to show too much of your personal life. I mean, some people love to do it, and that's fine, but a lot of people don't. And then I think it's good to have a clear picture of what is your online artistic persona like, and what do you want to share? And you should, I always and often get asked, like, do I really need to be on all the socials? And the answer, unfortunately, is yes, because it's different target groups on all the different profiles and platforms. So, there are people just on Facebook, there are people just on Instagram, there are people just on TikTok, just on Twitter. So you really need to stay on top of the game and have profiles everywhere, and also stay informed about new platforms, because it picks up quickly. And if you are one of the early adapters, it's easier to generate followings. And stay in touch with your fans. Discord is a thing that gets used more and more. I don't know if you guys know what it is. It's like Slack, so it's a messenger where you can have group chats. And it used to be something for the game community, so all the gamers used to communicate via that. But now a lot of artists use it to stay in touch with fans, because you can set up huge groups and different topics. So, you could set up one for live, and you can announce your live shows, and it will reach people directly through a push message. So, because as you probably know, like, messages get lost in the Instagram or Facebook feed so easily. And even if you have 1,000 fans, probably only 100 see it. So this is a good way to really get to the people you want to get to and you want to share the information with. Also, always update your profiles on the DSPs, so the streaming platforms. So you should always have an updated profile picture on Apple, Spotify, Deezer, Amazon, a recent bio, change photos, because the DSPs really check on that, especially if they want to put some marketing behind you or support you. They always check if the profile is updated to see if you care about the service. And if it's not updated, they're like, okay, this artist doesn't really care about my service, so why should I care about this person, this artist? So yeah, that's an easy way to just show support and make sure everything is in place. Also, if you do get into playlists, it's always good to share those playlist entries on your socials and tag the service. So if you get into a Spotify playlist, just tag Spotify, because they check on that. And if you work with a distributor, you can just send a screenshot of your social share to the distributor, and they can share with the platform. So this way, it's like taking care of your profiles. It just makes sure that the service knows that you care and that you give the support back in a way. And set up your own playlists. You can do it easily on Spotify, you can do it on Apple, on Deezer, and update them regularly, because it's a good way to show your fans what you're about. You can have release playlists, but also mood playlists or inspirational playlist for my latest album, or I'm on tour playlist. And fans really love that, because it's diverse. It's not just your music, because it's so difficult to get lost in all those new releases. So you're always happy as a music fan to get a nicely curated suggestion. So if you have a good playlist, then this can help you to gain more fans. And also if you sneak in one of your tracks once in a while, then you also collect streams by just updating your playlist. So networking is another thing that's really important as an artist, because you can't just rely on yourself. You really need partners, especially when you're just starting, or actually anytime, because even if you're already established, you need people around you to help you. So it's always good to collaborate with other artists, just to get new input. Also to reach new audiences, if someone does a remix, let's say you do indie rock, but then some electronic music producer does a remix, so you reach this artist's fans and another community. So it's always good to reach out to other communities. Release on different labels, if you do release on labels. It used to be like a pretty strict policy on labels that they wanted to sign artists for at least 2 or 3 releases, but this nowadays usually doesn't happen that often anymore. So I think if you have the opportunity, it's good to release on different labels, because you always get into a different camp of fans of the label and its artists. And different territories as well. You could release on a German label and then on a UK label and then on a Czech label, and so it's different audiences. So that's always good. And then if you play festivals and shows, just connect with the people, because you never know who you meet and who is there and who can help you, or you can sync your energies and build something together or help each other out. So I'm a big fan of that, and I think it's always helpful to do so. And it's always interesting to see what other people do and how they do it. And at least you get some input out of it.
Can I have a question, please?
Yes.
Yeah, as you probably see, more into the deals that artists make with labels and so on, is it possible to release, for example, a single or an EP on like 2 or 3 different labels?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I meant. If it depends
like the same release, not.
Oh no.
So it has to be like one release on one label, yes, the next release on a different one. Yes. Because it seems quite hard to do, for example, even if it's like country oriented. Like, for example, I'm working with a band that's actually considering like doing like a Czech label and then Slovak / Austrian label and then like Slovenian / Croatian label, but we're not sure if we can make the deal with all 3 of them to keep everybody happy. Do you think that's possible, or
no? Because I mean, when you think about it, it doesn't make sense for a label. Like, why would you share the revenues of one release with 2 other labels? Like, no label will do that. So at least the one release you sign, it has to be exclusive. And it's probably at least a 5 to 7 year deal. And then the master rights fall back to you. So no, there's no way.
Okay, thank you.
So that was actually the end of my quick overview. As I said, I just wanted to give you the basics, because I didn't know what you already know and where you are at your career. So I would open up for more questions if you have any.
Hey. Can you hear me? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this talk. It's quite inspiring, and there's lots of valuable info already. And
I can share the presentation with you.
That would be amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Definitely.
And I actually wanted to ask something about reaching out to the booking and PR agencies, because I found it quite difficult. As an artist that kind of wants to take that step to give the managerial kind of tasks to someone else who actually knows how to reach the audience and who has better ties with with venues, festivals, etc. I just found it really difficult to reach out to these agencies and to even get a response back, for example. So I would write an email, I would say a bit about myself, send my music, some releases, but it never actually happened to me that I would even get a response acknowledging that that they got it. Or do you have any tips?
I mean, I know that this happens really often, not just with booking agencies, but with labels as well. And I think it's not okay to not send an answer, at least say no, sorry, we are full capacity or whatever, we don't like your music. But I think not giving an answer is not acceptable, but unfortunately that's often the way it is. But to be fair, also because the workload, especially in the independent music scene, is really high. So, you know, they might get like 200 mails and 20 of them are like new artists approaching them. So it's probably often just a time matter, you know, not that they don't care, but that they just don't have the time to listen to so much music. So I know it's hard, and there's no like perfect way to do it. I always say, you know, just keep trying, because that's the easiest you can do. And maybe try to meet people, you know, if you're at a festival and you see there, just because if you've met a person in real life, it's so much easier to connect, you know, and then you have something, they remember your face, you get a vibe. PR agencies, I'm actually surprised, because I mean, it depends on the agency and how much work they have, but usually you are paying them, so you know, it's a service.
I have to admit that I reached out to actually very few PR agencies. It was more the booking agencies that I was kind of aiming for. But I guess I was actually guessing that perhaps this kind of more personal way of connecting is the easiest way. I was just wondering if I might be missing some special trick or something.
No, I mean, the only thing that you got to make sure is that everything is in the email and it's really easy to access. So, you know, if you get an email and there's a download link, people won't open it. So it has to be a streaming link. Everything has to be like so easily accessible. So that, you know, even looking at the mail at one glance, you get all the info, and then there's a link to the music. So, and ideally, you know, your social profiles added as well. So all the basic info that people need to know. And I know it's when you start out, it's really hard, because you're like, where do I start? You know, because labels tell you, oh, if you don't play live, and you haven't released anything, it's really hard to promote you. Then you go to a booking agency, they tell you, oh, you don't have a label, so we don't have a release to work with. So it's kind of a vicious circle, unfortunately. But you gotta start somewhere, right? So I would just keep trying to put yourself out there, and then try to do it on your own, you know, like release on your own. Try to build a follower, and try to get some gigs, you know, just write to local venues directly, because a lot of venues still deal directly with artists. I mean, there's so many emerging artist programs out there, you know, just some research into them, because some of them offer great support, and you get into a network you can profit from. So that's
I think like that's just the way. I mean, actually the concerts and even the releases are slowly coming. It's just this, I'm just not quite sure how to deal with, you know, some kind of more practical things, like, you know, what kind of fees I can ask from whom, and, you know, just having those connections. But I guess that also comes with the years of experience as well.
Yeah, and that's what I meant with having your network, you know, like have a network of artists that, you know, are kind of on the same level, because then you guys can exchange, you know, you can ask, what did you ask as a fee? Like, what did you get? You know, what's your deal like? So this is the info you need to know, you know, and everyone is in the same position, so everyone is keen on exchange. So I don't think, you know, you will hit a wall when you try to connect, you know. So it's this informal bonding and networking that's always very valuable.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. It was very helpful.
You're welcome. No more questions.
But maybe I was quite curious, because on one of the things that one of the advertising things for this was that you're going to talk about like how to start a DIY label or something like that. So if you could give us a bit more insight about that, because that's what, like, for example, I'm thinking about now.
I mean, this is, you know, the administrative things are kind of the same. You know, you have your accounting set up. You got to check, do you need to register a company or not? It really depends on the country you are in. Do you need a tax accountant or not? Do you want to do physical releases? Then, you know, how do you do it? Like, what do you work directly with a pressing plant, or do you go through a service, because there's services in between label and pressing plants? Really being tight on your budget, so make a budget plan, you know, like that's really important, and a lot of even bigger labels don't do that. They just say, okay, yeah, well, we have like 1,000 euros, so let's go for it, but there's no real goal, like what do we want to achieve, you know? So you shouldn't ideally spend more than you get back. So you should just set up a plan for yourself. So how many, let's say, vinyls I want to sell, how many streams do I want to get that makes that much money? So how much of that future money do I want to invest? You know, what should be my profit, or do I invest and put things on top? So this is really important, to not lose money, you know. I mean, probably you will invest first, of course, but in the mid and long run, you shouldn't always just invest money in your project.
So do you think it could make sense, for example, to start a label which would mainly do digital releases, and maybe some PR for the bands to give them some, like, I mean, some value?
Yeah.
And then when that's going, like you have, like, let's say 3-4 bands that release it, and then you get a bit of money, then you can start, for example, finding a plan for like a pressing plan or something, or maybe some distribution partners.
Yeah, I mean, because you don't spend any money on digital releases, right? It's just like if you work with an aggregator, you pay, I don't know, 10-15 for a release. So, but you don't pay like 500 or 1,000 for vinyl, you know, that might not be bought.
Yeah, that's actually another question, like whether to work with an aggregator or whether to supply this to your artist yourself, because that's also some money that can be made or can be paid to somebody. And like which of the aggregators, or like, for example, which of the like distribution company, I'm not really sure about the difference between, for example, Ditto or CD Baby and Idol, for example, or Centric in the UK. Like
so yeah, DistroKid is like like an aggregator where you just upload your tracks and you pay a flat fee. With Idol, for instance, it's a percentage deal. So you have a deal for like 3 years, 5 years, with a percentage that's taken off the revenues, and for that you get the marketing service and just the. For instance, Idol is very keen on high quality service. So we are really close with the labels, and it's a real partnership. So some of my labels even sent me demo tapes to see what I think about it, if I think it has potential or not. That's pretty extreme. But what all of our label managers do with their labels is to talk about strategy, you know, release strategy. Do we want to have singles up front? What format should we split it? When would be a good time? How much time should be in between? What should we do around those singles? PR, do we need PR, or should we rather invest in marketing, like ad spends on the socials? Where's the focus? So this is like a consulting in a way. And then on the retail marketing side, you know, a distributor like Idol really tries to get the music to the editors and also get features on the releases, and really pitches it to all platforms. And as I said, you know, service.
And all of this just for a percentage?
Yes.
That's perfect, because like I know that, for example, Ditto does that, but like you have to pay like 1,000 or 2,000 quid, pounds to be able to even just talk to the plugger, and then he plugs you, and maybe nothing will come out of that. So this sounds like a much fairer deal.
Yes, yeah, that's the thing. It's, you know, you have to because those services, they just deliver the music, you know, but they don't pitch it. And as I said earlier, you yourself can only pitch via Spotify for artists, so only for Spotify playlists, but not for Apple, not for Deezer, not for Amazon. So you need a distributor to even be able to pitch for the editorial playlists. Of course, and there are services, it's probably what you mentioned, that's for third-party playlists. There are big playlists on the DSPs that are not handled by the platforms themselves, but by other labels, just people, influencers. And they are sometimes much bigger than the editorial ones. So everyone wants to get in there, and there are a lot of agencies, saying, yeah, we can get you in there if you pay us. So it's a bit like PR. Mm-hmm. It's like, do you spend money on PR or do you spend money on pitching? And both is vague. You don't know what the result will be, but you pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. And do you also work with artists directly with Idol, or just with labels?
Sometimes we do, but only with like already established artists with the proper setup. So with like a management company around, because it's very time consuming, and we have to make sure that the setup is right and that it's a professional setup, and also that, because to build up an artist, as you probably know, is really hard. And we do sign smaller labels, but because we are independent, so we don't have any investor money, we really have to make sure that the balance between investing in new artists, new labels, and the revenues coming back is balanced well. It's like running a label, you need one or two high selling artists in order to push up and coming artists. And
I mean, you kind of are like a label for labels.
Exactly. Yeah, in a way it's like that. Yeah. And we also recommend PR agencies and publishers. So it kind of is like a label, but a label does even more for you as an artist. But yeah, for the distro side.
Oh, thank you very much. Anybody else? Yeah, so I think that's it for our questions. But if you have anything else that you would want to tell us about, because it's very informative, and it's very valuable what you're sharing with us. So if there's anything else you would want to share with us, we would be very glad.
I mean, maybe a good example, just as like a positive thing among the probably very kind of frustrating things. So I signed a label last year that just started, so there were no releases. And the label owner signed an artist from the US. So the label is based in Germany and the artist is based in the US. And the artist only had like 2 tracks out there, self-released, 300 plays on Spotify. So really, really small. And we really succeeded in building that artist. So this artist was very active on social media, collaborated with other singers. We pitched it to all the DSPs, and this is one of the happy incidences where one person in the US editorial team of indie music really liked the music and put it in different playlists, and the track performed really well there. So with the next release, it got into even more playlists. Then we got into playlists on other platforms. So, and now he's almost at 1 million streams overall without even touring or playing. And he succeeded in raising his social numbers, and the label had like small budget, maybe 500 euros for ad spends, just to boost campaigns and release campaigns. So to me, it's a really nice example of slowly building a profile and being lucky in a way, because sometimes it doesn't happen and you don't get into playlists. But still, if you have a good partner or if you do it yourself and you are consistent and you keep pushing, then in the end it does work out. Like I think if you really want to do it and you are sure of what you want to do, then you'll find a way of how to do it. I'm really convinced of that.
Yeah. It also sounds like it's been a combination of loads of people working hard. Also the artists, like the label,
yes, exactly.
Everybody around.
Yeah.
So yeah. And also, I another question came to me actually. Like, do you just work with German labels, or do you work with?
No. I mean,
maybe with somebody east from Germany.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the general manager of Germany, so I'm there for the German territory, and we have a team in the UK, in the US, France, where the headquarters is, and in Africa, in South Africa. But we also sign labels from other territories, and then we just see who will become the label manager, depending on the capacity. So yeah, no, it's really international. We have a lot of labels.
And also maybe someone from like Czech Republic or Slovakia or Poland.
I mean, it's not restricted to any territory. Okay. Yeah, no.
Okay, so I guess thank you very much for this great and informational talk, and hopefully, yeah, if you could send us the. Yes,
I will. Yeah, I'll do it right away to not forget.
Yeah, and yeah, hopefully we'll see each other at some.
Yes, I'm sorry that I couldn't come in person. I would have loved to because I love Prague, but I'm in Paris. I went to the headquarters.
Oh, now are you at Reeperbahn next week, for example?
Yes, I'm at Reeperbahn.
Okay. Yes. I'm considering Algo, so maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Let me know.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Okay, guys. Thanks a lot. Take care.